right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Happy Easter from all of us here at YSN. My name is Sam Torres here with Anthony Hartwig and Steve Leslie. Welcome again for week 2 of the Diamond Roundup, your weekly stop for all the best baseball and softball from the Mahoning Valley or from the Mahoning River all the way to Lake Erie. My name is Sam Torres, again here with these two gentlemen, Anthony and Steve. Anthony, how was your Easter?
Oh, it was so good. I got home from Easter dinner about an hour ago and got right on to be ready for this show. And it's just a great time to kind of get with family again and to be able to celebrate. And um, it's a great time. But now it's back to work, and here we go for a great roundup show week 2. And I'm excited to be here with you guys. This is a fun show.
Steve, how about you? How did the Easter treat you today?
Very good. I got the chance to spend a time with family. First of all, a happy Easter to everybody at YSN that we're able to be a part of, and all our great sponsors and fans and schools out there. Happy Easter to all them. But, like Anthony said, a time to sit back and be grateful for what you have, and also, get ready for this show. We got some new things, the Power 20 coming. Exciting times for week 2 on this baseball softball roundup show.
Yeah, and as we talk about week 2, last week, that show kind of served to be a little bit of an introduction, I guess, to what we are doing on this show. And we're going to kind of reiterate that right now. We'll be covering all the baseball and softball games we possibly can from the week prior. We're going to preview some of the big time week matchups coming up. We've got some new stuff coming in this week with the Power 20, like Steve was talking about, and also the starting 9. And the starting 9 is going to serve to highlight the 9 best performances, both baseball and softball, in our YSN family. And as opposed to week 1, week 2 was absolutely chocked full of baseball and softball, with the exception of a couple days. I believe Wednesday was really the only hard day weather-wise. We got a ton of games covered.
And even on Wednesday, we still got some games in. So I don't think there was one day where we didn't have at least 1 or 2 games being played this week.
Yeah, I think the impressive thing is, like Anthony said, we're able to play this week. This coming week looks sensational. We have some teams down in Myrtle Beach. Obviously, Ty and DJ are down there. We'll be in touch with them, but a good week of weather here. And Sam, you said it. I want to say, I don't know the exact number, but going over our list of performances, I want to say there were 30 to 35 softball and baseball performances. And as the weather gets better, that's right, even double. So, that's the challenge for fans to reach out on our social media. You see a great performance, get it out there, get the name of your player out there, the name of your school, and let's get it on the sheet and do what we like to do.
Yeah, and we did have some fan submissions this week,
Yes.
and as that spreadsheet, like Steve said, that spreadsheet was full to the brim. We may have to extend that thing after this week because there were so many big time performances on the week. I guess before we go into the starting 9, and even if it's a repeat, let's see. I want to ask you guys, anything sticks out to you guys this week? Something that really you knew from the go we'd be talking about this one.
Pitching in baseball, hitting in softball. We were going over the performances before the show, and Sam, you and me were talking about it. It is just loaded with pitching stats in baseball. We had 3 no-hitters this week in the baseball field, and then we had 1 no-hitter on the softball field as well. So pitching is everywhere, and it really shined bright this week.
How about you, Steve? Anything sticks out to you?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think from the baseball standpoint, I think the pitchers are a little bit ahead of the hitters right now. I'm curious to see a little weather change this week and a day where these kids can, play 2 or 3 days in a row and get those 9 at bats to kind of even them out. But the hitting's been a little slow. A lot of runs are being scored on errors and walks. I think this week you're going to see these baseball teams start to extend themselves a little bit, extend their starting pitchers on their pitch counts a little more. And I think you're going to see the hitters heat up when the weather gets a little better this week.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So I think weather going to play a huge part in that. With these baseball games, these guys, you're not getting the rolls, you're not getting the wins. You're not getting the wind behind the ball for a lot of these games, and it's been a lot of pitching. But for these girls are all eating their Wheaties. It is tank fest in softball. Home runs galore. These girls are swinging for the fences. A lot of home runs this week. A couple caught right here on YSN, and it's just there's nothing better than a hammer shot all the way over the wall.
There's no question. That's when I go back and we look at we have our roundup chat with our group. I get Anthony's text and I need calculators. All the runs and home runs and strikeouts in girls softball. And I've said it before, baseball and softball in Northeastern Ohio does not get the credit or respect that it should. And this is another one of those years where I think we have a lot of teams on both ends that can do some damage come tournament time.
I keep telling baseball people, when you have a home run call in baseball, you get to take your time a little bit. It takes a little bit to get out of the park. Softball, you got to get in, get out. It goes quick. You only have 200 feet before it goes over the fence. So those softball calls on a home run, you don't have the Hamilton, swinging a drive. It's going deep. Can't do it. You just got to get in, get out for the softball home run calls.
Yeah, we're talking about Hamilton. Listen, I'm going to start calling it that Richie Giuliano call. For those of you who haven't got to check that out, one of our YSN guys is out there giving world-class broadcasts for that Tennessee Smokies team. I just want to send a quick shout out to him while we got a chance here. Wishing him all the best. He's killing it. But did anybody doubt he was going to kill it?
No, I mean, and the universe kind of just peeked behind the clouds and gave him a walk-off home run in his second game. Like,
and the things from YSN that we strive for. You get a chance. All our announcers get that opportunity to put their voice on air. And I say it all the time. Dreams do come true. Richie is no doubt going to go up the ladder in my mind. He's that guy. I mean, like Anthony said, call a walk-off in your second game. Last night I had him on. He had a no-hitter going, I think, to the 6th or 7th inning. So the Tennessee Smokies have found themselves a good one in Richie Giuliano. And for our fans, you can go on and listen to the Tennessee Smokies broadcasts. I know I have the past 3 nights. I enjoy listening to them every night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to get a hold of him and have him do my outgoing voicemail before he gets too big. But that's what we got going on right now, folks. Let's, what we talked about last week's baseball. Let's jump right into that recap as we had, again, a ton of baseball starting right with Monday. Let's bring that up here. All right, starting off, we have that Orange Lakeside. It actually wasn't reported until a little bit later after the scoreboard is updated, but that game actually does end 7-6. We'll talk about that matchup again here in just a little bit. Akron Vincent St. Mary going 9-0 over Cardinal Mooney. Boardman and Fitch 1-2. Now, as a lakefront guy, I'm starting to learn about these big time rivalry and these big time matchups. This Fitch Boardman seems like a matchup that is never far apart.
No, it's not, and it's one of those. The league plays. That's what I like about those league games. They'll play 2 days in a row. So Fitch was able to get Boardman 2-1, and then the next day Boardman comes back and beats Fitch. That's what we love about YSN. Some of those games on there, Sam Poland and Struthers is a good rivalry. Poland's off to a good start. Cardinal Mooney that game was a lot closer to score. And Ursuline JFK are two of those teams. JFK, I got a chance to watch it at Scene Park. That's a good baseball team that beat a good Ursuline baseball team. So Monday, as our fans use that scoreboard, use our website to go on and get scores each night. But when you look at the scores, some good baseball on Monday night.
Now, one of the teams that I want to point out to you, Steve, and you can talk about it a little bit. I think we're going to have a representative on, the starting nine at one of these weeks. Definitely. Lakeview baseball is just off to a very good start. They beat South Range last week. Now they beat Girard on Monday. Lakeview baseball is really under the radar beginning of the season. I don't think a lot of people were talking about Lakeview in the 88, but you better watch out for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. You better start talking about them. They had a big win yesterday. We'll get into a little bit later on against West Branch. So that's one of those teams in our YSN area to keep an eye on. They're going to continue to improve and get better. But Sam, the Monday night was a pretty good night in baseball, and Anthony will go over some softball stuff, but there's a lot of good baseball played on Monday in our area.
Yeah, Columbiana staying high, 15-0 win over Latonia. We talked about that. Poland winning 6-1 over Struthers. You talked about the absolute barn burner that was Ursuline and JFK. As we head on down the list, United 6, Heartland Christian 5. LeBray going to fall to champion 7-1. Crestview continuing on their path this year as well, 10-0. Lisbon going to beat East Palestine 21-5. Jackson Milton 10-0, and Springfield over Lowellville 6-3. As we scoot on over and head over to some of these softball scores. From up this way, we got Lakeside falling to Grand Valley 12-21. And you talk about a game where those bats probably have dents in them. I mean, they just absolutely scoring all over that diamond there. And right next to him is another high score. These look like football scores, man. 13-11 as Western Reserve goes over Jackson Milton. And then here we go, Fitch and Boardman. 7-0 there. But Fitch has this, they got this ace in the deck that I don't know that you're going to get too many runs on.
No, I mean, Sydney Watts, I mean, we're going to talk about her probably every week on this show. She's going to be really hard to score against. And when you do, you're going to earn it. A couple of players have hit home runs this year. I think Minner hit a home run. If you can sneak a home run every now and then against a rise ball pitcher, then you're going to be okay. But that's about all she's given up right now.
Yeah, she is electric. Watts is electric.
She's a Watts, yeah.
But Edison 17-0. Columbiana, holy smokes, 22-0 there over Latonia. Hoban and Louisville 6-2. Crestview and Liberty 16-4. East Palestine and Lisbon. Lisbon coming out on top there 10-0. Unreported on Southern and Wellsville 20-0. The Raiders go to Niles and get it done. McDonald continuing on their path as well, 16-0 over Sebring. Poland, who we'll be talking about Poland softball here just in a little bit, 16-4 over Struthers. What's going on over there in Poland, Anthony?
Well, Poland has another really good pitcher, Katie McDonald, senior workhorse. We'll talk about the weekend a little bit, but the spoiler alert, she threw over 300 pitches in 3 games in less than 24 hours. So workhorse by definition in Katie McDonald. And that's where it all starts. Starts in the circle. They have good offense. They have freshmen in this lineup, 3 freshmen in a row, if you're 9-1-2, that have just really contributed well to their offense. And then, of course, you have Mary Brandt, who hit a walk-off home run on Friday. So really good softball players in Poland right now.
Garrettsville, Garfield going to go 10-0 over Newton Falls. 4-0 Springfield over Lowellville. Champion going to go 12-0 over LeBray, and Waterloo with a 15-5 win over Mineral Ridge. And then we head into the Tuesday matchups. Now we'll start here. I said it just now, we would talk about that Lakeside game, and here's the revenge for the Lakeside game. They split the series with Orange winning this one 6-5. And here's Fitch and Boardman in another airtight game. 5-7.
Yeah, those were 2 big games. And then you look, Lisbon and East Palestine play it close when Green and Louisville. And there's Lakeview, like Anthony talked about, 12-6 over Girard. Hubbard with a good win. So, again, you see those back-to-back league games. You got to go through some pitching. And Boardman comes up with a big league game to even that series with Austintown Fitch.
Yeah, and one of the things there's pros and cons to having a big conference versus a small conference. You look at a conference like the CVC with 28 teams right now, which, for athletic directors is a dream come true, because guess what? You always got a game. You're always going to find a conference opponent out there. But one of the things I've always kind of admired about that NE8 and keeping that nice tight conference is, these games all matter, and they get them in. They play each other a ton. So at the end of the year, while the top of the standings may be crowded, there's very rarely a doubt on who is the champion in the league, because there's a huge body of work.
Yeah, no
Right.
question, and that's what makes that league so strong, top to bottom. And as you keep scrolling through the scores there, we don't have to get through all of them, but a big win for Urson over a good Canfield program, 5-2. South Range stay hot. You talked about it, Sam. LeBray comes back and beats champion in that league back-to-back series. Alliance with a big win over Salem. Jackson Milton is the team to keep your eye on. That's a team that won 2 games against Western Reserve, who's usually pretty good in that league. So, to end out the baseball, Crestview stays hot there. Jackson Milton with a big 2-game victories over Western Reserve. Keep your eye out on them.
One thing I
And
noticed about
Jackson Milton is putting up big time
Yes,
stats
they
too,
are.
as we get that, that spreadsheet that we use to help us
Right.
figure out what the best ones are. Jackson Milton, some of those stat lines are through the roof.
Yes.
Steve, you know this as well as I do. Billy Sloan for Jackson Milton is really having a phenomenal season, just like we all
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah, he's big time. He's a good player, and I want to say that they beat Springfield once already in the league, so I believe they're 3-0 in the league. So a good Tuesday of high school baseball, and Anthony will go over to the softball side.
Yeah, as we go, Boardman gonna fall to Fitch again, 6-0. The offense is right about where it was Monday, but the defense is also right where it was Monday there.
I did this Boardman Fitch game round 2. This one was at Boardman. It was Fitch's first road game, and this not a big deal for most teams. But when you're Fitch and you're playing on turf, and then you have to go and play in the dirt for the first time in the season, there were some growing pains to that. And I think Sydney Watts probably would admit that she didn't have her best day. She gave up 7 hits and a walk, so 8 base runners that Boardman was able to get aboard. They had opportunities to score, couldn't get that timely hit. I thought their game plan at the plate was really good. They laid off her elevation. They made her come down in the zone. They were able to get some really good hits off of her. But that just goes to show when you're playing good pitching, even if you have a good game plan and you get a couple of really good hits, you could still get shut out because she'll still strike you out with runners in scoring position, and she'll still knuckle down when things get really tough. So it wasn't Sydney Watts' best game, that's for sure, but Fitch still able to win 6-0.
And do you think after that game that the Fitch softball coach, and I don't have the name right off the top of my
Steve
head,
Ward.
but Steve Ward, do you think Steve Ward breathes a sigh of relief as, man, even if our pitching isn't going, our defense is going to keep us in the game?
I talked with him, and yeah, he was really impressed with his team's ability to win through adversity. Like, it was the first road game. They had to play on dirt. They're not really used to that. And then obviously, Watts didn't have her best stuff, still a shutout. So how many pitchers would love to not have their best stuff and shut out the other team? Boardman had a good game plan. They were still able to win. The offense was able to do its job, score in 5 out of the 7 innings that they played. So 1 run in the first, I think 1 run in the second, 1 run in the third, 1 run in the fourth, and then 2 in the fifth. So the offense was consistently putting up runs, which is what you have to do if your pitcher's not doing her best game.
Yeah, and as we keep making our way down, we've got Crestview going over Liberty 12-2, South Range 21-0 over Niles, and South Range, their softball team has got it going on this year too.
They're on a collision course with Poland right now in that NE8. The way those two teams are playing, when those two square up after South Range gets back from Myrtle Beach, it's going to be one heck of a matchup. Big upset here, Sam. I want to make sure we get to Lowville knocking off Springfield in softball in Game 2 of that series. Springfield came into this season the head and shoulder favorites in the Scarlet tier of the MVAC, but Lowville comes out and knocks them off 4-2. Defense failed the Tigers in this game. 7 errors on the Tigers in that 4-2 loss.
Yeah, and again, Columbiana, here they go, flying high there. They are really scoring some runs over in Columbiana.
And they pitch well. I mean, they have a 1-2 punch. Mackenzie Gamble and Caitlin Pleska can both get in the circle and bring it to you. So they have really good pitching. They just got done in Tennessee over the weekend. They went 2-2 against really tough teams in Pigeon Forge. So Columbiana, they're going to come back and they're going to try to run roughshod through that EOAC.
Yeah, working our way down to that list. Another one of the games that I got actually pushed over to me, that PV Conneaut game, Bailey Alderman. That's the first PV win of the year, and Alderman goes out there in big-time fashion. She scores a bunch of runs with RBIs and gets right around 9 or 10 strikeouts in the circle. PV and Conneaut. Well, Conneaut has had a tough beginning of the year. They're one of those teams that I'm really kind of keeping an eye on to see when they're going to turn it on, because there's some talent over there in that Spartan country.
See, and the Lakers are just kind of under the radar right now too. I mean, that's a team up in your neck of the woods that is really playing good softball right now.
Yeah, and you know what? That is just kind of the existence of Pymatuning Valley. That's what it is. Pymatuning Valley, and you know, I feel comfortable saying that because as I've covered them for the last 3 years, they are a sneakily athletic team in whatever you get them in. If it was a checkers tournament, they would sneakily get in there, and before you know it, they'd have a couple folks on the podium. As we head over to Wednesday, where it was a rainy Wednesday, not too much happening on that day. Columbiana puts up an NFL 34-0 score.
Oh.
It's just like there is something in the water in Columbiana. I'll put it this way: when that score came through, it's one of the few times I had to double check that I wasn't.
Is this a typo?
I thought for sure I was misreading the score there. But Steve, I want to cut over to you. I want to talk to you about the Holy War. I was super pumped about this one, and shout out to Ysn Park because of their ability to take care of their fields and tarp and get stuff going. This game happens on a day where I truly believe anywhere else it doesn't get played.
Yeah, you know, it was a weird day. It was. I was able to talk with Bob Beam, who does our scheduling. At one point, Ursuline and Mooney both wanted to maybe start the game at 4 o'clock, and we weren't able to get it at 4. But the tarps helped. The Holy War was the Holy War. It kind of dampened a little bit with the weather and not a big of crowd as usual. But the Brenner boy from Cardinal Mooney, the freshman, went on the mound. Not his best performance against Carilla. Sam, I think what you saw is the weather conditions kind of take its toll on both of those guys with a lot of walks in the ball game and some things. But Luca Ricciuti had a couple big hits, and Urson was able to punch it open. But Mooney makes a run in the last couple innings and had a couple guys on base to end the game. So quality baseball game. Those are two teams that I think will get better as the year goes on. It was a great game at the park, and we were glad that we were able to complete that game when they actually – the JV game, the Storm Mornings game, they just finished, and we got that done. And, you know, the last baseball game, Wellsville beat Southern 11-5. So a pretty light slate from the baseball standpoint on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday looking like I'm hoping that we don't have a repeat. I'll be honest with you guys, looking at that radar, looking at the weather ahead of this week, and, you know, check out it's Storm Tracker 21, I believe is the one that we look at too. We look here at YSN. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful week of baseball and softball. Getting over the softball on this one, only 2 games getting played there, with Harrison Central going 9-0 over Beaver Local, and Letonia falling to the high-flying Columbiana. It is wild stuff going on over there. But let's head over to Thursday, where there's a lot more games going on that day. As we start off here on the baseball side, and Jefferson grabbing themselves a win with 11-1 over top of Conneaut. And as Jefferson, you know, they've had a tough go. Outside of grabbing a win over Hubbard, this would be their second win on the year. 11-1, and Lordstown and La Brea is 20-0. Field and Struthers 23-2. Garrettsville, Garfield is 12-0, and Austintown Fitch versus Lakeside 10-0. Austintown Fitch getting the job done there.
Yeah, Fitch
that was a good bounce back.
Yeah, good bounce back win for them after the Boardman loss. And Sam, as you go through those, I was able to watch a little bit of that Cardinal Mooney Springfield game. Another good game. Colton Rourke was on the mound. I think they had a 4 or 5-0 lead, but Mooney's that team that will not give up with Coach Eddie Reese. They continue to play. That was a good baseball game, ending 5-4.
This West Branch Mogador game, Steve, and you can attest to this as someone that has coached in baseball before. A game that was picked up last minute. They won the game to kind of even out the schedule. So I think they picked up Mogador the night before, and they were able to just get up and play, and 5-1 win for West Branch.
Yeah.
How tough is it to play a team when you just kind of pick them up at last minute?
That's a great question. They're hard. You don't know a whole lot about one another, but I give them both credit, Sam. We talk about it all the time. You get a chance to play. You look at the schedule. You look at the arbiter. Shout out to both of those. Are 2 good baseball programs, and West Branch was able to get a good win against a good Mogador team.
Yeah, and one of the games I got a chance and the honor to cover this week was the Edgewood and Painesville Harvey game. It was actually the second Edgewood game I got to cover this week, as I covered them in their win over Crestwood on Monday, as they're making their way trying to play catch up to Cardinal, who's leading the conference right now. But that Edgewood Harvey game ends 5-2. Harvey goes out there. Harvey's a very, very young team. They go out there with a freshman pitcher and Ryan Delaney. He pitches very well all the way until the third inning. And it's weird with this Edgewood team. They don't tend to start hot, but the bottom of the third inning is when this team is probably the most dangerous, as 2 games in a row, they have scored 4 runs in the bottom of the third. This one going to be lit up by Logan Cray, who playing shortstop that day for them, and goes out there with a couple big hits, a double and a triple, a triple and a single in that game, and really gets the offense going. But I think the story of that game is the pitching. Ethan Dietrich, just like the team has a little bit of a slower start, has a slower start on the mound as well. Not starting to collect those strikeouts. He's a guy who throws a lot of fireballs, heavily relying on that curveball. Once it starts to land, he's darn near unhittable. Those final 2 runs don't get scored until the 7th inning. And that's when they have to go to a relief pitcher, which is actually their catcher, who doesn't normally pitch, but they've had some issues, injury issues on the team right now where their bullpen is low. And Tony Hall takes off the gear and goes on the mound, and they kept it to win. It was really an impressive game to watch. Now we're going to head over to the softball diamond. Edgewood going to win here 12-2 over Grand Valley. And Edgewood softball is another team that's really worth talking about. They get that win 12-2 over Grand Valley. The biggest win that they get this week, though, is they beat Perry. And Perry's claim to fame is that Edgewood is the first softball team to beat them in a conference game in 78 games. You talk about a big time record to beat there. And they win it with Sophia Palilio with a big offensive output that game. Edgewood is somebody that the antenna should be up on.
Whoop. We'll put them up. Whoop, whoop. Sam, I think one of the marquee matchups on Thursday on softball was Champion Ursuline. Those are 2 marquee programs down here for softball, and they had to change it up a little bit. First, it was scheduled to be played at YSU softball complex. Then YSU said you can't do it here, so Ursuline said we'll just go to your old home and we'll go to McCoon Park. And then that couldn't do it at McCoon Park either, so Champion said we'll come on down to Champion. We'll host you guys. So after 2 separate venue changes, Champion was able to host Ursuline and win 6-2. Gabby Gradishar, I mean, she's having a phenomenal sophomore season, and I've said it before, a de facto freshman season, because she missed last year with an injury, which was supposed to be her coming out party as a freshman. In this game, she threw a no-hitter against LeBray on Monday. In this game against Ursuline, not only did she go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs at the plate, she pitched a complete game, struck out 14, 1 earned run, no walks. That's a great strikeout to walk ratio, Steve, when you can throw 14 strikeouts and walk nobody.
Yeah, that's an impressive performance both ways. And Coach Weaver, she's done it so long that they just every year it seems like they're going to be there with those good young players, and she's definitely one of those champion flashes that will have a great career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple other games going on there. Obviously Howland beating Matthews 6-13. That Lakeside Struthers game is actually late reported, but Lakeside actually going to get their first win of the year over Struthers, 23-10. So a big win there for the Lady Dragons. As we talked a little bit about them. I caught one of the games that didn't make the scoreboard this week was another game I got to cover, that being on Tuesday. St. John playing Lakeside with their St. John's phenomenal freshman pitcher Izzy Holler in the circle for that one, and we'll talk a lot more about her here soon. But they get an 8-1 win. An 8-1 win in that one. And Lakeside, another slow start, but they find it with a big win over Struthers as we head into Good Friday.
Good Friday.
And not too
That's
many games playing, but enough to talk about, right? As West Branch is going to go 8-2 over Streetsboro. Badger going 15-4 over Chalker. PV falling to Bristol. That's an NAC conference game right there. They're going to take the loss. And Matthews getting an 11-5 win over Waterloo. Over in the
is that
softball
West Branch
side.
team again, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think we're
they
going to
just
talk about West Branch here a little bit more as these
absolutely.
power rankings come up. Berkshire going to go 15-2 over Lakeside in girls softball. West Branch and Dover. Holy smokes.
Sam, I did this
13-14. Let's
game.
go into that one, Anthony.
I did this game. It was nuts. West Branch. It was offensive loaded. West Branch had a 13-7 lead in the seventh, top of the seventh inning, and it was just one of those wheels came undone. Steve, I'm sure you've been in this kind of game where you can't stop the bleeding. It seems like the other team is finding every hole in the infield, and all of a sudden you see Dover come back with 7 runs in the seventh to win the game 14-13.
Yeah, those are tough ones. As a coach, those are tough ones to kind of, I don't want to say accept, because you as a coach, you get on both sides of those. But as a coach, Anthony, you called it. You could feel all those things coming on. They're finding holes. They're doing things. And, sometimes you have to tip your cap to the Dover team and move on to the next day, which a good West Branch program will do, no doubt.
Dover
I guess
shortstop
in that
Addie.
game, it ain't over till it's Dover, right?
Dover shortstop Addie Morris. My first chance to see her live, but I known about her for a while. She's going to be a Division I player going to play at Bowling Green, so it was an honor to get to see her live and call a game that she was able to play. I mean, she's a phenomenal softball player that the Tornadoes have over there in Dover.
And then finally, finishing this one out, we got Massillon Jackson going to fall to Louisville 6-7. Waterloo going to fall to Matthews 5-3. Akron Springfield 21-3 over Garrettsville. Cheney taking a big one to Western Reserve there 26-0. And it's becoming old hat at this point. Poland winning another one, taking this one over Sharpsville.
So I went and called the Dover West Branch game, thought my day was nuts, and then I went and did the Poland game. And Poland was down 7-2 in the bottom of the seventh inning. And guess what happens? Here come the Bulldogs, and then Mary Brandt comes to the plate with 2 on and 2 out, and she just launches a walk-off home run to win that game 8-7. Just a wild day of softball on Good Friday.
And then the PV lady is going to get some revenge for the boys there as a 21-2 win over Bristol. And that's going to end out our Good Friday as we head over to Saturday's games. And a lot of games getting played on that day, too. I was actually surprised on how many games we actually had going on Saturday.
A lot of double headers.
Yeah, there were a lot of double headers and those types of things. And, that's with the weather you got to kind of take advantage of. And a good win for, the Lakeview baseball team. They beat a good West Branch team, so a good win for them there for sure.
How about Louisville beating Hoban, a team that a lot of people think in Hoban that can get to state, Louisville knocking them off?
Listen, we talked about upsets already. I when I first saw that score, I think I got to label that an upset, and that's not a down on Louisville. It's I think a lot of people looked at that Hoban Louisville game and we're ready to put, myself included, Hoban as the W there, but Louisville making a difference.
Well, it's the teams on opposite spectrums. I mean, Louisville is a team that lost so many good seniors from last year with JT Popick and other great player, Anthony Miller, a lot of really good seniors from that team last year that made a deep tournament run. Hoban returned everybody from a team that went to state last year. So I think there were teams on the opposite spectrum, but Louisville showing off that they can still play baseball with the best of them.
Yeah, and we cut down to Louisville.
Yeah, that was a pretty big full day, like you said.
And they backed it up by beating a really good Chardon Hilltoppers team later in the day too.
Yeah, and I believe that Chardon Hilltoppers, and I could be wrong, but I think they were knocking on the door of a state championship in baseball last year.
Yeah,
so
they absolutely were.
That's a very, very big win for them. A lot of big games there. That Lakeview, I'm telling you, man, Lakeview is definitely on my radar. I talked about Edgewood getting on other people's radar. The Bulldogs are going to be trouble this year.
And West Branch, I mean, that was their third game in 3 days, Steve. Maybe a little bit of fatigue there that Lakeview was able to take advantage of.
Yeah, that was, I'm sure, two good baseball teams. That was a close one. Columbiana beats Springfield there. Beaver Local loses the Struthers. So, a very busy week to end the week Saturday, Sam, and a good baseball week for YSN, no doubt.
Yeah, moving on over to softball here. We've got Boardman and Poland. Boardman knocking off Poland here, 3-1.
First loss of the season, and it was all in the circle. Tori Strine, sophomore pitcher for Boardman, pitched a really, really great day, working inside and out against these Poland hitters, and moved the ball really well, and they just silenced the lineup. Boardman's offense hasn't come alive yet. Coach Moots will admit that. They're hitting 221 as a team right now, not where he wants the batting average to be. But when they're pitching like that, then you can just find little ways to score here and there, and that'll be enough.
Yeah, as we move over to Crestwood and Edgewood sitting right now at a perfect 4-0.
That's a big win. Crestwood's a great softball program.
Yeah, they have had, and I want to send a shout out to their coach, Randy Venzel, because they're getting tested early and often going against.
Think he's busy enough?
Huh?
You think he's busy enough? I mean, geez, you just got off the basketball season. He's like, you know what? Boop. Softball.
Throw the sneakers in the closet, and now he's got the cleats on. And these girls are playing. These girls are really playing. Like you said, Crestwood is a really good softball team, but Edgewood is finding the offense when they need to. And then PV going to go out there and take a loss to a very good Springfield team.
PV would you look further down though, they would avenge that and split with Springfield later on in the day. So that's a good doubleheader to be at. PV versus Springfield, very evenly matched softball, and they proved it in that doubleheader.
Yeah, and both of them, PV and Springfield, they kind of share that. I won't necessarily call it a chip, but often overlooked because you look at just the population of the area, you look at the size of the school, and I don't think people really expect either one of these teams to be as good as they are until the final outcomes. As we make our way down the line with our final game, as Poland, they don't stay losing forever. No. Same day, they're going to change that and end the day on a Brookfield win, 15-9.
Well, they played a Brookfield team that was coming off of a win like an hour before against Boardman, who just beat Poland. So in that trifecta, everyone beats each other. But Brookfield, I think, was managing this game, Sam, because they knew that they had a big conference series coming up tomorrow and Tuesday with Crestview, and they didn't want to throw Marina Nicholson, their ace, in 2 games in a row. So they just kind of threw their number 2 and number 3 and just kind of pitched by committee in game 2 and tried to score enough runs to win. Poland was able to take advantage of that on offense, but props to Brookfield's defense Brookfield's offense for really fighting back in this game, because Poland threw Katie McDonald again. They just worked her all weekend. Like I said before, over 300 pitches in less than 24 hours. So, they just were able to score a lot against her. If you haven't heard of Brookfield's player, Abby DeJoy, she's one of the underrated, under-the-radar players that we have on the YSN network. And she hit her 4th home run of the season against Katie McDonald, which is a hard pitcher to hit a home run against.
Yeah, so that's going to be the recap of this week, and what a week it really was. I'm talking baseball, softball, everything you could really want. It's right here on YSN, your one-stop shop. You're going to find the best from the Mahoning River all the way to Lake Erie. Huge part of Northeast Ohio right here. The best teams, the best games right here. And what a week of softball that is. Guys, I think we're running right into our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about standings. We're going to talk a little bit about power rankings. And we got that starting 9 before we head into our week 2. Well, I guess it would be our week 3. So let's go to a break, folks, and we'll come right back here in just a little bit.
Shopping for a vehicle online should be easy and worry-free. Introducing Merge from Greenwood Chevrolet, a completely new way to buy a car that combines the convenience of shopping online with the personal touch and expertise that Greenwood is known for. With Merge, shopping is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Choose a vehicle from our pre-owned inventory, build a deal that fits your needs, and finalize the deal with our online buying team. That's car buying in a new lane. Visit greenwoodchevrolet.com and let us go the extra mile for you.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Erin Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Diamond Roundup. Sam Torres here with Anthony Hartwig and Steve Leslie as we are just finishing up last week's week recap after a couple words from our sponsors. I want to jump into the standings really quickly here just so we can just kind of touch on them real quick and before we get into a couple other things there. Looking at the AAC in baseball, you've got Canfield and Fitch fighting for the glory at the top there with Fitch with a lot more ball games than Canfield. Fitch going to be the top in softball and Canfield in second there in softball.
Both those teams have gone off to a really good start. Can't wait till they match up with each other.
Heading over to the Buckeye 8, we've got Indian Creek and Harrison Central in baseball at the top there, and both. That makes
exactly
a quick
the same.
that makes a quick one for that conference, that's for sure. Going over to the CBC now. The CBC, the records are right, but the divisions are a little bit off there. Geneva 5-1 right now. Edgewood 3-2 as of this. Actually, the new updated score is Geneva 6-1. And Edgewood 4-2. Those are going to be two you're going to want to watch, chasing each other's tails all year. Edgewood right now is 4-0, including being 3-0 in the conference, getting that huge win over Perry, which is absolutely incredible.
That had to feel good for Coach Venzel.
Yeah, and Venzel,
because he wasn't able
Venzel's
to get the win in girls basketball. So
heading over to the EBC, we've got Alliance and West Branch tied at the top there with 2-0, and Marlington and West Branch tied at the top there with 1-0 in softball. In the EOAC, United in baseball at the top there, 3-1 with Wellsville right on their tails, 2-0. Over on the softball, it's Columbiana 5-0 and United. And I got to tell you guys, to me, Columbiana's got to be an early favorite right there in softball.
Absolutely.
Over in the MVAC, talk about another mega conference. Crestview 4-0 and Champion 3-1 there. We got a lot of really good baseball teams in this conference.
Yeah, and remember Crestview and LeBray split this week, so that's 2 and 3 already played each other.
And then, Jackson Milton in the Scarlet side, and Steve brought this up during the games when we covered. Jackson Milton is another team that is creeping on the come up. You better watch out for them.
They will be facing McDonald here in league play. That'll be a good one.
We got Western Reserve and McDonald on the top for softball, and then Champion and Crestview. I don't know when that one's going to happen, but sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, this week you're going to have 2 versus 3. I mean, 1 versus 3 and 2 versus 4. So you'll see Champion play Garfield this week, and you'll see Brookfield play Crestview. So that'll be a fun week in the MVAC.
Over in the NAC, you've got Matthews at the top. Not a lot of games played on the baseball side of the NAC. Unfortunately, just weather has really drowned out the early part of the season there. PV leading in the Stars division with 2-0 and a 3-0 overall, and then Chalker there in the Stripes. Now let's head over to the NE8 that we were talking about, how is truly anybody's conference this year. I mean, just look at the records. Poland 4-0. Poland are they 4-1?
Not in the conference.
No, they're undefeated in baseball.
In the NE8? Okay, yeah. So 4-0, and then South Range right there behind them, 4-1. Yikes at the NE8. And then over there on the softball side, South Range 5-0 and Poland 4-0. When does that crash course happen?
Yeah, now Poland is 5-1 overall, but still undefeated in the league. But when they play each other, it's gonna be something to watch.
Yeah, that one's going to be a tough game. Can't wait to see that one. We got Portage Trail with JFK here in with no games in the conference, and that seems to be kind of the normal, as nobody plays conference games in that one until later in the year.
Right.
And then the Steel Valley, baby, Ursuline and East 1-0, and Mooney 0-1 on the baseball side. And then over on softball, you've got Mooney on the top and Ursuline with no games played in the conference yet either. That's a crash course that's coming very, very soon. That's where we're at.
We see more games in that Steel Valley Conference. That those standings are going to start to take shape.
Yeah, I talked about, small conferences and that Steel Valley Conference. I mean, listen, there's nowhere to hide. They're gonna get to you eventually. That conference game, it's like a shark in the water. But let's unveil our first power ranking of the year. So we're gonna start off here with baseball, and then we're gonna follow it with softball. And this power ranking system, so you guys know, just a little bit of insight how it goes. We've got some formulas that are put into this: wins and losses, who you played, how they played, who they've played. There's a lot of things that go into there. It is nothing personal. It changes week to week, and there's a lot of input. Yeah. That's the disclaimer before we put this out there and get people all fired up on this Sunday. Power 20 right here, folks.
One of the things we did with power rankings in the winter, we took opinion out of it. I think that was one of the big moves we did with basketball. It's going to be the same way here in baseball and softball. This is a formula. It's numbers. Can't really argue it. The other preface that we want to say before we go into it is these are as of Friday. So yesterday's games will not be included in this week's power rankings. They'll be included in next week's power rankings.
Yeah, I think when you look at the baseball there, obviously Poland's number one. They're undefeated. Good baseball team. Warren JFK right there. And Anthony, you talked about it. We did these on Friday. So West Branch was in the 3 spot. You look down the list, Lakeview was number 10. That's what makes these power rankings so much fun this week. That will all probably change with Lakeview getting a big win. But, 4, 5, and 6, South Range, Austintown, Fitch, and McDonald. 7, 8, and 9, Ursuline, Canfield, and Jackson Milton. Lakeview champion, LeBray, Crestview, Springfield United. And then you have Edgewood, Edison, Girard, Boardman, and last Southern. So congrats to those first 20 on the power rankings. This is what makes it fun, what we do at YSN. It's the opinions off of it. We're basing it on some strength of schedules. And I'll use Boardman there. They've played Austintown Fitch twice. They've played Poland. So Boardman at 2 and 3 is obviously one of those teams that will continue to get better. But right now, congratulations to the Poland Bulldogs as they sit number 1 in our first power rankings of the week.
Steve, if I told you before the season started that Poland would be 1, I mean, they lost a lot last year. They were down last year. It's still a pretty inexperienced baseball team when you think about the players they have. I'm very impressed by the Bulldogs so far this year.
Yeah, they've done it with pretty good pitching, Anthony. Their pitching's been good. Coach Murray gets his 300th win. Congrats to him. But, those teams, Sam, you talked about this. Those middle of the packs, I look at 7, 8, and 9, and 10, 11, and 12. Those teams, LeBray, Lakeview, and Champion are going to battle it out in their league. Ursuline is going to be up there. Canfield will have a say-so in that Poland matchup and in an Austintown Fitch matchup. So, overall, pretty good power rankings. The fun part about this, it's going to change every week, and I look forward to what next week's rankings look like.
Steve, do you see any teams in the next 5 that you think can break in the top 20 this week with matchups they have?
Yeah, I think Girard is one, that I think could move up the ladder a little bit. I think Struthers, I was able to watch yesterday a little bit at the park. I think they have a couple good senior pitchers. I think you could see them move up. So right now, there's 3 or 4 teams that were right on the bubble list that can make the jump this week.
Because I'm looking like Mooney. I think Mooney has a chance to get into the power rankings with the schedule.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I got one that I'm gonna say right now. If Lakeview doesn't crack the top 3 in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be surprised. Lakeview has some big matchups coming up very, very soon. They've got Jefferson this week, but coming up on the 24th, they're going to have Poland, and then they've got Ursuline right after that. I mean, that
And
Lakeview is going to have a couple chances to make some big waves in this power ranking.
And I believe they still have to play game 2 against South Range because I think that got canceled last week. I think that was supposed to be on Wednesday and it got rained out. So I believe game 2 against the Raiders is still on tap for Lakeview as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest heartbreaker right now, and I say this because of all the rainouts and the fact that the schedule is fluid, is that Poland doesn't play JFK. If it happens, that'd be awesome.
That's the thing though about baseball and softball. You never know. You could just pick up a game because you need a game because yesterday got rained out and the team you were supposed to play can't play the next day. We see a lot of baseball teams just pick up games. West Branch did it this week with Mogador. That wasn't a scheduled game. They just picked it up the night before. So you never know. You could see JFK and Poland decide to square up against each other.
Yeah, I'm not stirring the pot, but I'm nudging the spoon. I'll tell you that. That is your week 1 Power 20 rankings. And again, that's going to be something that's unveiled right here on the show every single week. Let's get ready to head over to that Power 20 in the softball. And this one, I don't think that there was any question right now on the number 1 team. If you ask me, I think Fitch is probably the hottest team playing softball right now. I think there's a lot of great softball players, but Fitch is top of the top.
Yeah, this was a fun. There's so many good softball teams. I think 2 and 3 right now were probably interchangeable, but because Canfield has played a little bit of a tougher schedule to this point, South Range has only kind of played their league so far, but they're going to change that this week in Myrtle Beach with the teams they play there. But South Range hasn't really been extremely tested outside of the conference yet. Obviously, Canfield has done almost exclusively outside of the conference. They've already had big games against Champion and Hoover and things like that. So Canfield right now, probably that's why they have the 2 to 3 edge over South Range. But you look at the rest of the list: Champions at 4, McDonald 5, Poland 6, Crestview 7, West Branch 8, Western Reserve a surprise in 9 at breaking the top 10. Ursuline is that 10 spot rounding out the top 10. Howland right behind them. Edgewood, we've talked about them a lot. They're 12. 13 is Lakeview. United is 14. 15 is Springfield. Brookfield is 16. I think they could move up a lot after seeing them live for sure. Garfield right behind them at 17. Then you have Edison with a really good pitching staff and Katie Fluharty at 18. 19 is Cardinal Mooney right now, and then Girard sitting at 20.
Yeah, Edgewood is really the most, obviously, from getting to watch these young ladies and seeing their, I think I'm really interested to see how high they can kind of fly on this list and when, are they going to be able to keep the wheels on the wagon? I think outside of them, another one that is really interesting to me there is McDonald. McDonald has some really, really good softball players. Fitch is going to be a very, very tough one to knock off. I feel like Fitch is going to be playing top level. I'm not sure if they're going to lose and when that's going to happen, but I think there's a couple teams that can knock on the door. Obviously, Canfield and South Range. What is understood doesn't need to be explained. I mean, those two are very good. So I think you're right, but just outside of those guys, I think you can look at. For me, I'm looking McDonald and possibly Poland to potentially make their way and start causing noise up at the top.
And someone that needs to break into these Power 20 rankings and will next week for sure, I think, after the performance they've had over the weekend is Columbiana. I mean, Columbiana had a great week. They had a great weekend in Tennessee, beating a couple of really good teams, and they're going to be in the top 20 next week for sure. I mean, I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, Columbiana has proven themselves time and time again. Maybe looked down upon a little bit, being a small school coming into this first week, but they've beaten up big teams, and they're going to be right there coming up soon.
Yeah, and that's going to be our Power 20 for the softball this week. Again, you can look forward to that coming out every week. We'll release that on the show. It'll be shared on all the socials following the show. Congratulations to all those teams. To the teams that didn't make it, keep on playing, baby, because we're always watching. You can make it in there. We're just watching what you're doing. But it's time for our week 2 starting 9, and we talked about this so much earlier and before the show and at the beginning of this show as well. This week was absolutely stockpiled with performances. So before we go, just want to let you know, thank you to everybody who got the stats in, all the fan submissions, all those things. We appreciate them all. If you see a performance that you believe is worthy of being on the starting 9, reach out to anybody on the YSN staff. You can, email us. You can check us out on the About. We're on all the socials. Let us know. Tag us in these things. It'll definitely be considered and discussed. But, Steve, let's talk about this baseball starting 9 right now.
All right, starting 9 in baseball, week 2. Congratulations to these fine young men. Leading it off from Lisbon High School, Ashton Pitts went 3 for 4, 2 doubles, 6 RBIs. In a 21-5 victory. Salute to that young man. Batting second from Wellsville, Jackson Brewer. He went 2 for 4, Sam, with a triple, 5 RBIs, and they were needed. 16-15 win over Southern. Batting third, Cole Morawski from East Palestine. 5-0 win over Lisbon. Sam, pretty good outing. 18 strikeouts. 18 of them. So congrats to that young man on a great performance. Logan Cray from Edgewood, Sam, over your neck of the woods, 2 for 4, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, and a big 13-2 win over Crestwood. Batting fifth from Columbiana, we talked about them. Reese Rush, Columbiana, 11 strikeouts, another no-hitter, and a win over Latonia. That's all we talk about, no-hitters and strikeouts. Let's go to the 6-hitter, Michael Patelis. Oh, by the way, he threw a no-hitter against Clay on Saturday with 10 strikeouts. Batting seven, Tyler Milhorn from Crestview. No walks, no-hitter, 16-0 win, 7 Ks. Number 8, batting 8, I know his dad well, Frankie Senedak from Canfield. 2 for 2, 2 walks, 3 run scores, and a 10-0 win. And batting 9th in the 9-hole, Anthony Treveri, the sophomore from Ursuline. 3 for 4, 2 RBIs, in a big 5-2 win over Canfield. That is the week 2 starting 9 for the boys. Well-deserved, tons of strikeouts, no-hitters galore. Shout out to those young men.
Milhorn was 1 error away from a perfect game.
That's unbelievable.
That is insane. That's insane.
Yeah. So when you want to get into the starting 9, you better throw a no-no. Let's say you better be 3 for 4, 4 for 4. But no, honestly, continue to do that. We love doing this. The more stats we get on kids, Sam, you said it, the more we get to look at. It was a great list that's going to get bigger and better every week.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of room for error. I'll tell you that. When we're looking at these lists, we're walking down. We have a huge spreadsheet that we talk about every week, and it's like, man, look at these numbers. And then you look, 2, 3 down, and you're like, well, they're better here, and then they're better here, and trying to tighten that down to 9 is a full-time job. And I'm really happy to be doing it with these guys right here, because there's a lot of baseball and softball knowledge here, and it's a tough job. Let me tell you guys all that starting 9. But congratulations to all of those young men on making the list this week. Make sure you guys, we're always watching. We're like Santa Claus.
We're like, as soon as you said
that,
who's naughty and
we know who's nice.
When you said that, because it's baseball season, I thought Angels in the outfield, because that's Al. We're always watching.
There it is. Hey. All right, with that, let's get into some other Angels in the outfield as we go to our softball starting 9. And this one, we're going to punch over to Anthony.
Absolute Angels for sure in the outfield this week for softball. Sam, someone in the leadoff spot, Easy Holler from St. John, 12 Ks, 2 for 3, a home run, 8-1 win over Lakeside. First high school game. We talked about this with a couple of debuts last week. I mean, there's nothing better than kicking down the doors for your first high school start by putting up a performance like that.
Yeah, not to mention the inside the park home run. She she actually broke the score open herself as going into that fourth inning. They were scoreless on both sides, and she gets a big hit into the right field down the line. And she gets around second, and they kind of mishandled the ball a little bit. And you could have had a stop sign the size of a billboard. She wasn't stopping for nobody. She took that inside the park, broke it open, and then just followed it with about 8 more strikeouts.
Gianna Mancini in the 2 spot for McDonald. She went 3 for 5, 4 RBIs, and a 11-0 win over Crestview. In the 3 spot, another Gianna right behind her. This time is Gianna Caruso from Lakeview. 4 for 4, perfect day at the plate. We like seeing that. 2 RBI and a 11-4 win over Gerard inside the inning 8. Ready for this cleanup hitter though?
This
Cleanup
is the
spot.
one.
Jewel Lilly from Waterloo. 2 home runs on the day, including a grand slam, 8 RBI. Oh, and she also threw in the circle. 8 Ks, 15-5 win in run roll fashion over Mineral Ridge for Jewel Lilly from Waterloo. I don't know if we'll see 8 RBI again this year. That's a pretty
8
big block.
RBIs is video game numbers.
Yeah.
That's a video game, and that's not a video game you played regular. I got on the show because my team lost today, and I turned all the sliders all the way down, and I'm trying to get some revenge. Those numbers.
The sliders were turned all the way up for those stats. Sophia Hook in the 5 spot for Brookfield. She had a walk-off single in the 5-4 win over Crestwood on Thursday. Big win for Brookfield. A couple of our teams got big wins over a big good Crestwood team this week. How about the 6th spot? This is a lot. Clayton Pleska from Columbiana. Complete game shutout. All right, so 2 hits, 7 strikeouts, but she was also 3 for 3 with a grand slam, a home run, and a 12-0 win over Virginia High School in Tennessee.
Not a bad day.
I mean, we are absolutely hitting tanks, baby. It's all over the place. These girls are absolutely hitting rockets out of the park. Every week when we get in here, there's multiple home runs out here. If you leave one hanging, it's gonna go singing. Over the fence it goes, and that's what's going on with these YSN girls.
Well, like I said, Columbiana, they'll probably be in the power rankings next week for sure. Allison Jones, we like to give props to some speed too. Allison Jones from Western Reserve, 2 for 4. 4 stolen bases on the day. She also had 1 run scored and an RBI, 13-11. That crazy offensive win over Jackson Milton at Youngstown State University. In the 8th spot, Brooke Brewbreaker from Crestview, 4 for 5, 4 RBIs at the plate, and then 8 Ks in a 16-4 win over Liberty. And then rounding out the spot, Fitch's Abby Toth, who bats 7th in their lineup. So tell you how good that lineup is. She's in the 7th spot. And she went 2 for 3, 2 home runs, 3 RBI, and the 7-0 win over Boardman.
2 bombs.
Can we talk about what it takes to make the starting 9 on softball? Can we talk about the ridiculous stat lines you got to have?
Yeah, you better strike out at least 8 or hit about 2 bombs and get 4 hits, because that's what it looks like to me.
The only way.
Yeah, you got to have 2 home runs, strike out the whole team and the hitting coach, and you better probably it's
steal
really
4 bases.
But it's just a testament to the high quality play we have right here on YSN Live. These games, you can go back if you want to check out any of these awesome performances. You look up the school right there on ysnlive.com. Go to the schools. The replays are available right there. We're archiving everything for you. Go grab the game and check some of this out yourself. Not only are you going to get to see some high quality play, you're going to get to hear some great announcers doing great work there. It's just an awesome, awesome place. Man, what a full show we had this week. But let's talk really quickly before we get out of here, guys. What games are you kind of looking forward to this week? I'm going to start this one and then pass off. I know tomorrow I'm starting off bright and early. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's a battle for the bridge here in Ashtabula County. Edgewood taking on Lakeside in baseball. I can't wait. I might go get set up in the press box tonight. I'm ready to go.
I think there's a couple for me. I talked about Jackson Milton. Jackson Milton will play Warren JFK Thursday at Scene Park. I look forward to being able to watch those 2 teams play. 2 quality teams. They're well coached, so that's going to be a good one. And And Friday's going to be a good baseball game. Youngstown Urson against Springfield. Probably see Colton Rourke on the mound for Springfield. I would probably guess Carilla from Ursuline. So those are two of the premier matchups at the park in baseball.
Yeah, and before Jackson Milton gets to that one, they have the series with McDonald, who's right behind them in that MVAC standings, Monday and Tuesday. So that'll be a fun one too for baseball to see how Jackson Milton does in that big time conference matchup, and then be able to test themselves outside of the conference. In softball, man, big ones in MVAC great tier. Champion versus Garrettsville Garfield, which is 1 versus 3 in the standings, and then Brookfield versus Crestview. Both 2-game series. That's 2 versus 4 in the standings as well. There's going to be some standing shakeups in the MVAC grade tier. You know, there's
Whole
just
lot of shaking going on. I can't wait.
Something's got to give, right? I mean, you got 1 versus 3, 2 versus 4. You got to think that 2 teams are going to come out, looking a lot better than 2 other ones in those 2 series.
Yeah, we got some great baseball and softball coming up this week, folks. Make sure, again, if you want to know what games are going on today, you head over to ysnlive.com. You click on live games. That's where you're going to get the very best coverage all the way from the Mahoning River to Lake Erie. It's a huge chunk, a lot of teams, almost 70 schools. You're going to be able to find the very best right here on ysnlive.com. That's all we got this week, folks. I just wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next week. For Sam Torres, Anthony Hartwig, and Steve Leslie, baby. This is the Diamond Roundup. We'll see